Our putting vault focus for the month of August is chipping. Chipping is related to putting because it helps you get up and down, which means fewer putts. Example, most people don't hit the green in regulation all the time. Most people still want to break 80. That's like the holy grail for a lot of you. Well, I got a simple formula. Hit 6 greens, only 6 greens in regulation, eliminate the 3 putts and the penalty strokes, and then get up and down 6 times. You'll shoot 78. That's breaking 80 every time, and you got 2 strokes worth of wiggle room for something bad to happen. This focus on chipping is going to help you get those 6 up and downs when you miss the green. Second thing, a chipping stroke is virtually the same as a putting stroke. And that gets us right into what we're talking about. A lot of people don't know what a chipping stroke is. I see this a whole lot. People get out on the golf course and we'll go with that pin over there because this other one is too close. And they make a stroke like this. And that's actually not bad. It carried high and soft and rolled about 10 feet past the hole, but that was a pitch shot, not a chip. When you're chipping, there's no wrist, any of that. It's like you're making a putting stroke. And all you're trying to do, and what we're going to focus on in the putting vault this month, is how to chip in a way that gets the ball in the air onto the green, which is the most predictable surface, and gets the ball rolling to the hole. Today we're going to cover the basics and fundamentals. I'm going to give you a couple of drills. Next time we'll talk about how to put some spin on the ball, an easy way to put spin on the ball without getting fancy or wristy or having to have Phil Mickelson level skills, how to get some spin on the ball so that you can stop it. And then we'll work on changing ball flights and controlling the carry and the roll. And we'll finish up the month with an accuracy challenge so that you can learn to get up and down often. Let's get into it. Now, a lot of people like to putt from off the green, which is great if your ball is here. That's pretty easy. But what if your ball is here? That's really inconsistent. You have no idea what that's going to do on its way to the hole. You need to learn how to chip those. What if your ball is here in this grass or even back there in that? Folks, you cannot putt consistently out of that. Got to learn how to chip, get the ball on the most reliable surface, which is the smooth, short grass, the green, and let it roll to the hole. A lot of you use a Honu putter like I do. That's zero loft. That's not, like a putter with 3 degrees of loft, which is going to putt and lift the ball up out of this thick grass. I want to carry the ball into the air onto the putting surface and then let it roll out. Reason I want to do that is for these chip shots, I can read the green just like I would with a putt, pick a landing area, land the ball in that area, and now because I've read the green, I know it's going to roll and break towards the hole. I get a lot closer, I get a lot more up and downs. Well, let's talk about how to do that. So I'm using my 54-degree sand wedge. You could use a pitching wedge or a gap wedge, which is probably 45 or so degrees. It'd be easier with that. But what I want to work on is simply making a stroke that's very much like my putting stroke. I've got an alignment rod down here. You could use another club for this. Doesn't really matter. But what I want to do is make certain that, and you're going to have some arc because arc is natural, but I want to make certain that in this stroke, I'm going straight back here as far as possible. And then on my through stroke, now I'll illustrate here. I might cross this line, but I'm staying relatively straight to that for a long time in here. And that's important because that keeps me from flipping, from using my wrist, from rolling the club face over. In fact, what I really want to do is finish with those grooves pointed at the sky. grooves to the sky. I'm not rolling the putting face over the top, not putting my wrist into it. I start with one hand only, and I'll set up, you notice the line is this way, and my feet are at about 30 degrees to the target. Then I'm going to shift my weight 70, maybe even 80% onto the front leg, heavy on the front leg. This trail leg is simply for purposes of keeping my balance so that I'm not doing this. But most of the weight on the front, and then I'm just going to make a putting stroke. No wrist, work on maintaining this line. By the way, I saw a guy recently out on the course laid his putter down to work on his pitching like that. No, that's cheating. You can't do that. But in practice, you can. Feet close together, weight forward, all a little bit back in my stance, and then just a putting stroke. Again, I'm not trying to hit that one very far, just illustrating. But in this case, let's say with this club and this distance, if I carry it all the way to the green, it's going to roll out too far. So I'm going to try to carry this one just to the edge of the fringe. And again, one hand, I'm working on keeping everything square, making this stroke. Just like that. That's all I'm trying to do. And you keep working on this with one hand until you're making a consistent stroke. Your grip is going to be pretty firm, so I recommend using only 5 balls at a time, doing sets of 5. And what you're trying to do is be consistent with how far you carry it and how far it rolls out with your strike. Let me give you a little tip here that will help you with your ball striking. So take the club that you use for chipping, use a Sharpie to put a line on the bottom groove like I've done here. This is perfectly legal if you do it before your round, not during your round. Then you take the logo on your ball and you set it down like that where the center is facing away. And your goal with your stroke is to get that line on your ball under the logo, making a stroke that puts that line right under it. Illustrate it better this way, I think. And all I'm trying to do is slide that marked groove underneath that logo, just like this. And in case you wondered, that was a really short chip with no room, and you'll notice hard to stop that one, especially on a downhill. It hit the edge of the hole, lipped out, and now it's about 6 feet past. Not as good as I'd want to do, but I wasn't even aiming. The reason to do these in sets of 5 is you're going to grip it a little bit firm, and you need time between the sets to kind of like shake your hand out and get loose again so you got good feel there. The other reason to do sets of 5 is you're not trying to just whack balls and work on it by trial and error. You're trying to be consistent, and 5 is enough to get consistent. By the way, you ought to use the balls that you're going to use on the course. Range balls are so inconsistent and all over the place. You want it to feel like what it's going to feel like when you do that on the course. That's the goal. So do this like that, just one hand, and do sets of 5 until you can do 2 sets of 5 in a row, 10 shots in a row that fly and carry a consistent distance and roll out a consistent distance. Pick a target or a landing area on the green and aim for that, or just off the green and aim for that. Hit the ball to the same target 10 times in a row with the same ball flight 10 times in a row. I know this is basic, but you learn to do that, you'll be a long way. And from there, then we can learn to put spin on the ball. Then we can learn to change the ball flight and how that affects the roll. But work on picking a target spot that you want to land on, that the ball will then roll towards the hole, and hitting that target spot. Do it one hand when you can do 10 in a row with one hand. And again, you're making a stroke like a putting stroke. There's no wrist movement. I keep my wrist set, grooves to the sky. I don't want to cross over like that. I don't want to flip it like that. Again, weight forward, ball back in your stance, feet 30 to 40 degrees off left of the target, and just consistent stroke. Controlling the low point with that line under the grooves, that line on the bottom groove, like we talked about. And again, some of these are difficult shots with the ball buried down in the grass. I practice things like that because I want to be consistent with the ball flight, the ball carry, and the ball roll. And you're going for results like this. Notice all 5 of these are plenty close enough I can get up and down. Once you can do that consistently with one hand, then you're ready to bring the other hand onto the club and try to be consistent that way. Work on this, get that nailed down this week. Next week, we'll talk about how to make this same stroke, add some spin to the ball so you can control how far it rolls out.